Hey everybody, I just wanted to put out a video about true love, twin flames and things like that because I just watched the documentary on Netflix, which as we know Netflix is a nefarious company that was trying to promote child pornography and child trafficking. So not fond of Netflix by any means. Um but they have a documentary about escaping twin flames. And it's talking about a particular couple that I've seen talk on YouTube when I was first getting into this sort of thing. And so I've seen them talk. And I only watched them a couple times. For some odd reason, it didn't really resonate with me. So I didn't stick with watching them or anything. Back when I was learning about all these different concepts and things, I would see what this person was saying. I'd see what that person's saying. I don't know about that. I don't know about them being two halves of the same soul or whatever. Never really bought into that idea. I felt like, and then I had watched my own clients for years and their love relationships, these patterns that I seem to see when God will guide you through these different things that you're supposed to be learning in order to help evolve whatever that thing is, or that's going to be your thing or your niche, or and then you just kind of watch it start to evolve, and you start to master it in your own way, in your own unique flavor. You start to see the patterns, the signs, the synchronicities, and all of it seems to line up behind your idea, if it's a good idea, if it's true, and all that. So I never really did go for the whole two halves of the same soul stuff. I mean, it's possible, sure, but I've just seen too much evidence of there being multiple suitors for that to be the case. I don't think there's just one person. And I went away from the whole twin flame concept because of that, I think. And I started to talk about your significant other as like a true love counterpart, something more like that. But there does seem to be, and I remember a long, long time ago, somebody said, Amy, you're gonna have a choice between a really rough ride, but a lot of passion, or a really awesome ride this direction that's just easy and really flows. This person you want, so they were making these comparisons, and I was just like, well, I want to go the easy route, of course. Like, I don't want to go through all that nonsense. I knew back then, I was just like, no, not that I like easy, but that seemed like I'm not into all the drama. I don't want to I don't want to be a part of the drama. Whatever's more peaceful, and whatever really just like I've had enough of the drama in my life. Let's just say I don't need any more of that drama nonsense. I want, somebody who's got their stuff together and has a level head and can talk through things, and where you grow with the person and all that kind of stuff. Um, so that's what I've come to call the true love counterpart, or the twin flame, or the passion person. And then over here is the person who's like a soulmate type of thing. Now there's high vibe soulmates too, so it gets really confusing. That's why I don't like to put labels on anything. So here's kind of the gist. If you're really, really into somebody, and I've never put it this simply before, but it's just true. Whether if you're It's all about our self-development. It's all about us learning to love ourselves and accept ourselves completely, and being more and more authentic all the time. That's what the whole true love journey is about, whether it's a soulmate or a twin flame or a soul flame or whatever label you want to smack on it. It doesn't even matter. If the person that you fall deeply for and have these incredible, intense feelings for runs away from you, lies to you, they have addiction issues, they've got all kinds of things they have to overcome having to do with their ego, then they're that passion kind. Then they're the ones that are just like, both of them, you probably would get signs and synchron, and not so much, well, some with the soulmate, but you'll get tons of signs and synchronicities with the passion kind over there, whatever you want to call that. And you just keep being pulled to that person no matter what, and you just get reminded of them all the time and just inundated in songs and everything. And then there's this back and forth, and sometimes you'll text each other, sometimes you won't. Sometimes they deny the connection completely and they're totally lying, because I see it in the cards. And then they'll go to the low hanging fruit, and they'll, go out with somebody else who's just like an easy grab, and somebody that does not challenge them or walks all over them or treats them really poorly. It's usually a miserable situation. It's usually pretty toxic if they don't go with you. You're the person who challenges them to drop their ego and become the most authentic version of themselves. So they don't like that. And they run away and they don't want to face it. And they don't want to, they know that going the direction of going with you is going to change their life for the better. And they're really scared of what that entails, losing family members, friends, or whatever, because you now want to live your most authentic life. And that doesn't align with everybody who wants to push your buttons and boss you around and tell you what everything is. So, and then the soulmates, if it's real easy and it really flows and it's just like, wow, this is just like, those are the people that meet when they're 18 and they're together for 70 something years. Those are the soulmates. They don't necessarily can have the same kind of passion, but usually it's not, not the kind of passion that the passion one has. But I have actually heard stories of some of the soulmates being just as passionate. So don't necessarily go by that. So in this video, I mean, there are cults everywhere. There are cults everywhere in every situation. I think that everybody, like most of them, what we call the divine masculines, the passionate kind, those guys are duped big time. They're in a cult, and the cult is called people pleasing. It's the same as any kind of other cult. There are rules and regulations, and if you do anything outside those lines, you get punished, you get shamed, you get guilted. How dare you, pull back the money from because everybody loves taking their money. They just love, because they have a good heart at their core, and people will manipulate the crap out of them. I mean, it's heartbreaking to watch it, but they'll just manipulate the crap out of them and make them think that they love them even. So they'll just be like, yes, keep giving me your money, take care of our family, take care of whatever it is. And they completely brainwash and manipulate them into thinking that those people love them, and thinking that those people actually are looking out for their best interest, and they're not at all. They're just totally manipulating them. Or they actually have convinced themselves that they're in love, but they're really not. It's just a means to an end. Ultimately, it's all about control. It's just all control. So over on this side of the camp, like with the soulmates and stuff, it's much more accepting of oneself. And these two, the soulmate, when you get, and the passion one can actually turn into this type of connection, which is what everybody's banking on. All the divine feminines are hoping someday this guy will become this guy in a way. So if you meet the soulmate guy, it's just easy. And they're like your best friend. You can talk about anything. You could talk till 3 a.m. and it's no big deal. You don't ruffle each other's feathers and get as triggered as you do with this guy over here. But by the time it gets to this stage, both people have matured tremendously. And who knows how many years that took for the divine masculines to get to this point. And so, and over here, it runs pretty smooth. It runs pretty great. But both people have to be kind of ready and be pretty independent and be, free thinkers. And they're not people pleasers anymore. And they set really good, healthy boundaries. And they know themselves from others. And they know, this is what I will tolerate, and this is what I will not. This is what I stand for, and this is what I will not. So they're flexible. They can have conversations without blowing up about everything or jumping to the worst conclusion or all of that. So, okay. So having said that, I mean, even our government, even people who believe in our government or believe in that the sickness that floats around with the C letter, that's a cult. The government's a cult, believing that we all have to stay in line and stay within these guidelines and regulations in order to not be shamed or given a ticket or slap on the hand or some kind of, or thrown in jail. There's all these threats. There's always threats to cults. I've been in a couple of different cult type situations. I was in a church that was very charismatic, very fun, like absolute blast. It was like, you're allowed to have so much fun, just frolic and have fun with everyone. But then it came down to, they always wanted you to tithe, and they would guilt you into giving it. And if you didn't give it, you would be shamed pretty much in some way, shape, or form. You would feel very embarrassed or really bad about yourself if you weren't tithing. So that's one thing they do. They rule you with guilt and with shame, and they always make it your fault because they gaslight you, because they're narcissists and psychopaths and sociopaths. The government, they're all psychopaths and sociopaths, at least the ones in the top, the ones who are doing all the tyranny stuff. Same thing in churches, same things in families. You get the same thing in cult families, where the families tell you, you better step in. Like Hollywood is a cult. Like any place. I mean, it seems that this is my logic right now. I really haven't done any studying on the subject. I've just been in it. It's always like, you better stay in the lines. Somebody takes your money. They take control of you and what you're allowed to do and how far you can go and what words you can say. And you have to believe in their concept or their theory or whatever it is. If you dare break out of it, then you've like fallen away. Oh my gosh. And then all the support is gone. All of the people who were there to lend a helping hand and to help you when you weren't sure about something, or everybody who came to rally, a fake rallying around you to help you, to support you in those times of need that you've had or whatever. It's all fake kind of support, because they're not supporting you in who you truly are. They're supporting you as long as you're a robot and you do as they say, right? So it's not real love. Just like people who fake their way into a relationship by people pleasing, again, like our biggest curse in this world, or believing negative thoughts is the other biggest curse in this world. But, if you start dating somebody and you fake them out, which is what a lot of the karmic people do, which is the ones that these unhealthy, toxic guys run after, the unhealthy relationships that treat them like terrible, but they trick them because they say, oh, well, I'm gonna, I need you, and please fulfill this need for me. And they just take and take and take, and then they make them feel really bad and keep them really low so that they'll be obedient to them and whatnot. What was I going to say about that though? Something about, it's just very controlling, demeaning, and, they just will go to higher and higher heights until they have complete and total control of you, and you're just a puppet pretty much. So I always say that if you find one of these connections, like some of you are like cling to that person. So I'm never going to let that person go. That is my one person. That is it. And I believe they will become this guy over here eventually. If I just hold out long enough, or if they grow up and I know they're learning in their karmic relationship, and I know they'll eventually, and I've seen some of them do it. I have seen some of them break away from their karmic relationships and grow up and become the men that these, women fell in love with. I've seen that happen. So it's not some kind of fantasy or anything. And these guys are really good guys at their core. They've just been completely brainwashed and manipulated and duped by all the toxicity and nonsense around them. But you take those guys over here, the toxic guys, and you put them in another environment. You put somebody out of a cult and you put them in a healthy environment where they're supported for actually being who they are. They love themselves and they stand on their own 2 feet and they're proud of themselves and they become a leader themselves, not giving a crap what anybody thinks. All of a sudden they're looking back at that situation going, why the hell was I in that? They were so scared when they're in the cult. They're trembling, scared. Oh, I better not step out of line. I'm going to be guilted, and it totally unvalidated. And over here, it's just like, what in the world? This is so refreshing. I can do whatever I want. I can say whatever I want. I can take whatever beliefs that were working for me over here and bring them over, but I can leave the toxic baloney, all the guilting, shaming, and finger wagging and all the condescending stuff. So yeah, it's pretty crazy what that group went through. So I'm going to also just make some points of what they talked about in that video or it's like 3 episodes or something. So nobody can tell you who your person is. Apparently that group, like the leader, of course, and this is a sign of a cult, the leader is the only one who can tell you who your true love is. I don't care who, there's nobody, God, but only if you have a connection to God and you can hear consciousness clearly in this communication with God. It's between you and God. Your person is between you and God. I've heard different things about dreaming about them. Like some people say, and please comment beneath this video and share what you know as well, because I'm open to everything. So some of these people who've been married for like 20, 30, 50 years and just absolutely are so in love with their partner. It's like the most incredible connections I've ever seen. A lot of the people say that before they got married, they did not dream of each other. And I think with a lot of these toxic relationships, you do have dreams about them. So I don't know what that's about. And I don't know why you get so many signs and synchronicities that the universe seems to be pointing at this person over here instead of like this person. And for those of you who say, well, you should just date a guy that you have a connection with and just where it just really flows. Not necessarily, not necessarily, you guys, because I've known women that get duped by narcissists who know how to pretend to be a really nice guy, to wine and dine you and take all the proper steps. And they, after you get to know them, they're not at all like that. They start getting really controlling. They start getting really demanding. They start squeezing you, getting you away from people that you're closest to and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so nobody can tell you who your person is. That's between you and God alone, and your own heart and your own, your own pull. So listen to your own pull. There isn't just one person. There are many suitors. I have tended to see that the divine feminines are the ones that have a lot of suitors because they are the ones who have developed to the point of using the law of attraction. And the law of attraction is really working for them. And the minute, there does seem to be an element of the initial twin flame or whatever you want to call it ignites something in them. And then if that person decides to close the door and go another direction with their life, there's a new opportunity that comes through that brings like a new suitor through for the divine feminine. And that's because the universe really wants the divine feminine to find an incredible, like divine partner, a power couple. So the universe will keep bringing you suitors. They may keep being scared and they keep being insecure. They keep being, thinking money is the most important thing, or thinking that they need to have X, Y, and Z in order to be the perfect partner for you, or I have to have my career all put together, or I have to have this perfect picture. They get totally disillusioned that they have to be some kind of perfect person to come forward to you, which is really ridiculous. And it's a trap in itself by, the dark forces. The dark forces are really, they're always trying to keep divine unions from happening, because that's when you guys actually go out and make a difference in this world, is when you can get on the same side, on the same team, on the same page, and start like healing each other. And, then it starts becoming super powerful and you just emanate your light to everyone. So they talked about gender in there. Apparently the guy started like telling people what they are as a gender. It's like, what? I cannot even imagine. So you're born with your gender, whatever that is anatomically, like what you were born with is what you are, that you're either a male or a female. That's how God made you. Don't question God. Anything else was just developed by your brain, by your thinking, and by dark forces. Because dark forces, if you were going to be a powerful woman in this life, and you were born to be a powerful woman, which you were, if you were a girl or whatever, a female, then, you were probably going to do something insanely incredible. So dark forces came in and said, no, we're going to make you feel like you've always supposed to be a guy. You were always supposed to be a guy. You never felt like that, because that's Satan's way. That's the way of the dark forces. They take God's, whatever God does, and they mess with it, screw it around, screw it up, and scramble it up so people get totally confused. And it's all mental. It's all just totally mental. So everything that causes us harm is mental. That's why I say, like, if nobody could think any negative thoughts, we'd all be in a perfect world. It'd be amazing. It'd be incredible if we could just not think any negative thoughts. But that's almost impossible because we have an ego. Until you're actually enlightened, you're gonna have those interactions. It's how you deal with them that makes the difference. So, family, cults will try to rip you from your family. Now, I say on my channel, if somebody doesn't act like family, they're not family. But I'm not trying to hoard all of you over here and keep you all to myself and be this some kind of ruler over you all. So I do think that, whatever, if somebody calls you family, but they don't treat you like family, they're not family. Maybe by blood, that's it. But if they don't treat you right and they walk all over you and all they do is use you and abuse you, just as with anybody, you should limit your, exposure to those people because they're narcissists, psychopaths, or whatever. And the dark forces have, influenced those types of situations too, to really use your family members, your supposed family members, to abuse you and just bring you down and you make you feel like crap about yourself and disempower yourself and make you feel like, judged and all that kind of stuff. So no, I don't believe we should be loyal to our families. I really don't. If they don't treat you right, then they don't get treated right. Like you should treat people how they treat you. And nobody should be ruling over anybody. Nobody should say, I am the authority over everything and I decide everything and I'm going to take everybody's money and I'm going to say who gets what. It should, at the very least, a good leader will make it equal for everybody, who will say, oh, right, who will make it fair for everyone. That's the first and foremost in my mind when I deal with just about anything. Does it feel good for you? Does it feel good for me? And it has to feel good for both of us, because if it's all feeling good for you, I'm not being treated right. And if it's all feeling good for me, you're not being treated right. It has to be in any particular relationship. It's got to feel good for both of you equally. Like both of you have to say, walk away from a conversation and say, that felt great. I feel really good about that. That liberates me. It makes me feel validated. Ding. So, okay. Yeah. And people should be able to, like in a cult, a lot of times, if you go against, well, most times, probably all times, if you go against what they're teaching or what they're saying, they treat you like some kind of an enemy, which is also our judicial system, right? Or like I was saying, like the government acts like this and our families act like this. You go against what they're preaching about all the time and what they're saying, negative, 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 negative. I don't believe the negative. Out of here. You're out of here, all of that is cultish. But somebody who is actually mature, like a mature leader, would actually they'd bring in all different types of ways of looking at things. When I was in my cult, when I was a Bible talk leader and I was a Bible thumper, I would run around and smack people with the Bible all the time and just be like, you're living the wrong life. You straighten up and accept Jesus into your heart. And I was doing that, like really giving people a hard time about not being right with Jesus and all that stuff. When you're doing that and you're fighting with people and you're defensive and you're angry and people are questioning you, like, why do you believe what you believe? Or why do you think Jesus, blah, blah, blah? Why do you think God, la, la, la? And they challenge you at all. And you get angry and defensive. That is a sign that you're actually not secure and not confident in what you truly believe. Because a true mature leader who actually knows for a fact that what they're preaching, what they're talking about is true, they can always listen to everything. They can absolutely have it out. Let's hear what you got to say. Come on, bring it on. And they'll listen. They'll hear all of it. And they're not listening in the back of their head going, oh, here's how I'm going to argue that point. Oh, here's how I'm going to say this and that. They're actually truly listening. They're like, okay, let's hear your side of the story here. Let's get down to this. And then they listen and they listen and they listen and they'll stay quiet. They won't interrupt. They'll say, oh, those are some good valid points. I could see where you would come to that conclusion and why you would think that way. Oh, that makes sense why you would come to that. Validating the whole thing, and then sharing their own piece. And a lot of it is going to be like, I agree with you on a lot of those points, but I'm not buying into that whole concept. Not the whole concept, but a lot of it I do agree with. I do agree we should treat people this way and that way and the other thing. And most of the people who are getting defensive about what they believe, when you get down to it, they don't have any kind of proof or evidence of what it is anyway. They've just been told to believe that, or they've just made it up or whatever. If they get all flustered and angry when they get questioned, they don't really have anything to fall back on. Like back when I used to get angry about the Bible and I was preaching and I use all the scripture and everything. But if people were like, okay, well then what's the foundation of the Bible? Like what, where does the Bible come from? And I didn't have a clue. I would just be like, it's of God and it is the only word we should ever use. And that was such a perfect trick on the Nefarians' point, on the dark forces end, because that was genius. When they added that to the Bible and said, this is the only book to ever read. Don't you ever look outside of this book, and I think they put it in all of them, the Quran and all that stuff. So, it's just masterful. You got to give it to the dark forces, man. They got people duped good doing that stuff. Anyway, a true leader who is truly neutral and wise will listen to everything. I just had a conversation with one of my friends. Like if she thinks something about something and I send her something, it shows her something that talks about that thing that she's into, but something that's against it, or like not necessarily against it, but shows her like a different area of it or a different angle to look at it from, she'll get so upset. Like, don't you take that thing from me? I love that thing, And I'll just be like, well, but what if you just take the information for what it is and just see what people are saying out there about it, and don't see it as right or wrong, but just listen to the information that's being said, and then you can decide for yourself. And she really thought about that. She's like, that's a good place to come from. It is good to see what's being said about it, so that when you're having communication with people out in general that say, hey, that thing is bad for you in this way, that, and the other, you can say, I've done my due diligence about this. I've done some research and looked into it. And this is why I've come to the conclusion I have, because I had to learn to be like that too. I had to learn to not get defensive about what anybody had to say. I'll listen to all of it. And then I'll just keep coming back to the same conclusion. Well, it all comes down to this, or it all comes down to that. Like, I'm really good at seeing the truth of all things. Like, I can break it down to the most simple factors there are. So, having an open mind, being willing and able to listen to those things. If you already, if you've been enlightened, some people lie and say they've been enlightened. I'm not talking about those people. But people who've actually been enlightened, they really do see things a lot simpler and more clearly. They can see to the heart of things, and they can already see something. I don't know. Things become more simplified. But anyway, I think it's always really smart and really wise to listen to everything everybody has to say, but doing so with taking it all with a grain of salt, but also considering and validating any points of view that you can in it. And I've seen so many times when I wanted to get defensive and I just fought for my opinion. I was like, why? Eventually I became like, when I started breaking through that defensive system, that automatic defense thing, and I started to actually question things. Why do I believe that? Why do I think that? Where did the Bible come from originally? Why do they tell us to only read that book? When I started to look into those types of things, I became clearer. I became stronger. I became more confident, and I became more empowered. And I learned more information that opened my eyes and opened my heart and opened my whole world up to possibilities That's why they don't want you to do it. That's why the dark forces try to get you defensive about everything. You just want to be right and you want to take your stance. So I just encourage you to challenge yourself not to do that. If somebody goes against anything that you have to say, just be like, I get it. Listen, really, truly listen and care what they're saying. Even if you think they're just idiots and they don't know what they're talking about at all, just really listen to them. Okay. And just take it as like, almost like study. This is what people think. This is what people think about that. That's interesting. It's really interesting to see this, or this is what brainwashing has created. So they actually think this, that, and the other thing. That's really interesting, huh? And then you could just take that information, you can let it simmer for a bit, and you might end up coming up with a really good talk or some really good points to share with people later when you have other communications. You just become wiser and you become more mature as you open up to other people. But cults do not let you question anything. They have their set thing that they want you to believe, and that is it. And you only do their exercises. That is it. They won't be open to anything else. There's also force in cults. You must participate in dinner every week. You must come to church every Wednesday. You must, pay your tithing. You must, it's always a must and a forceful thing. That's always a red flag if somebody makes you do that, and you have to every single time. They encourage you to comply and tell on others. So they'll encourage everybody to people please, all the leaders of the church. And you're good to be in this group because you're like the star pupil. So you just tell me if little Gina over there starts acting up and starts doing the wrong thing, right? You're going to tell me, right? So they encourage that divisiveness. And people become afraid. Oh, they're going to tell on me. I have my light on and I'm home while people are having church. They'll know I didn't go to church, that kind of stuff. So that's the kind of stuff that once you're out of the cult, you're just like, dude, why was I in that? Why was I letting people treat me that way? Why didn't I just flip them off and walk away? Like I had that power. I was free. I didn't have to walk into that building. I didn't have to participate. I just can't. It's a mental prison. They keep you in a mental prison. Okay, so when you're in one, yeah, you're afraid. And once you leave, you wonder why you stayed. Totally. So some of you who are in this dynamic, whether it be, you're a slave to the government or in all of the stuff that they tell you about that, or if it's church, or if it's your family shaming you, or whatever, in whichever way you might be being imprisoned by your thoughts. I just encourage you to just check your heart and see what kind of life do I truly want to be living if it was my life alone to be lived and nobody had a problem with anything I was about to do. That's what you want to do. Do what you want to do, no matter what anybody thinks or says about it. Even if you're all alone, it'll be worth it. And get yourself in a different environment than the one you're in. Because when you're surrounded by other people who are completely brainwashed, you're not going to see clearly. You have to remove yourself from the situation and take a look at it from an outsider's perspective to really get a proper look at it. And support and gather people around you who say things like, whatever you decide to do, I support you. Whatever you need, I will help you achieve that. And they're not thinking about their own, gratifying their own needs or meeting their own needs through you. They're not there to take from you. They're there to contribute to your life and help you come up with a plan, or help you find a place to live, or help you start all over, however they can, with nothing you're giving to them at all. That's the kind of friends you want to keep, that there's nothing in it for them to gain at all. And they're just going to support you, whether you want to go be a baseball player or you want to go chasing rabbits in fields. Like, it doesn't matter what you want to go do. They're not going to tell you you're insane. They're not going to tell you that you're about to lose everything you've ever worked for. Nothing's ever worth anything to you anyway if you're a slave to people, or if you're a slave to an idea, or if you're a slave to some kind of religion, even Satanists. Whatever, if you're enslaved, you're not free. You're not being yourself. You're not being authentic. So quit being so scared that you're going to lose support or that you're going to lose whatever you think you're going to lose, because you've already lost it all. You have nothing. You've got nothing already. So why not just walk away from it and just have a new beginning and just say, okay, now I'm going to be like the phoenix rising from the ashes. And what do I want to create? Who do I truly want to be? How do I want to live? Where do I want to live? Someplace warm, someplace cold, and just keep looking for those people who support you no matter what you want to do, that have nothing that they're taking from you at all. Get rid of anybody who wants to take anything from you. Anybody who wants anything from you, get out of there, and just start, building a base of friends who have your back no matter what, and who really truly care about you and want you to just be happy. That's it. And then just start building from there. And it may take every penny in your pocket. It doesn't matter. You'll be so glad you did. You don't even need money. It'll still be worth it. You don't need anything but the bravery or the courage to do it. So I'm encouraging you right now, whatever kind of cult you're in, and probably considering all the different definitions I just gave, most everybody's in a cult of some sort. Most everybody has somebody lording over them or guilting them or telling them what to do. So whichever way that you're having that happen to you, please break free of it. Have good boundaries, fight back peacefully and with kindness and with confidence and certainty. Get out of there. Whatever this is. Break the people pleasing. And don't think they love you, because they don't. They're just master manipulators, and they're just getting something from you, and they don't want that something to go away. So, all right. Have a beautiful day, you guys. Hope this helps, and I will talk to you later. Bye.